Good afternoon. So I wasn't expecting this many people, but that makes me feel good because when you do these things, you're always kind of expecting that nobody will show up. And what I'd like to talk, first of all, thank you for coming. So that makes me feel good that I'm uh, doing something that might be interesting to others. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how I got into these things I call bandsaw boxes, and a little bit of about the carving. Um, I started out hating bandsaw boxes. Actually, every time I looked at them, they just looked kind of chunky and just not really interesting things to look at. But the one thing that was appealing is they look like they could be made quickly, which is always as you know, as woodworkers and stuff, there's nothing quick in woodworking, nothing. Yeah. So I've kind of turned the 20-minute bandsaw box into 2-3 day project. So you cannot make any money doing them. But what ended up happening is during these long projects that go on forever, that start out exciting, whether you're making a cabinet or chairs or whatever, table, there comes a point where it's going on, and you just want to make something instead of, making 5 jigs to drill an angled hole in something. And that's your day's project. Just like you want to be like a potter that goes in and makes, a whole set of china in one day, So what I would do just to keep myself sane in the middle of the project, I'd make these bandsaw boxes, and I'd get like maybe 1 out of 20 that it was worth looking at. And that one wasn't even really that great either. Just to be able to kind of loosen up and then go back to the crazy slow work again. And most of those would end up in the wood burning stove. And then I ended up going to SUNY Purchase in New York at Purchase to do this residency. And I had this whole thing planned. They make you're going to be there a semester. I'm going to do this and this and this. And whenever I go to a place and I'm involved in like a collaboration or something like that, I do warm-up projects just to kind of loosen myself up. And so I made a box, and it was like, wow, this is kind of fun. Maybe I'll make another box. Then I made another box and another box. And I started to get the hang of how to approach these boxes in a much more artistic way, and something that made them, worth looking at and keeping. And so the whole semester was just devoted to making these little boxes. And the funny thing about that was, at the beginning, Dennis Fitzgerald, who ran that whole program, and I know he was doing this to kind of intimidate you. He has a very dry sense of humor. He takes you to the end of the building, and there's this gallery that's at least the size of this room or bigger. And he goes, "This is all yours. You need to fill this." And it's like, oh, okay. And so at the end of the semester, I had like an orange crate's worth of work. It all fit in that little box. Or in that thing, and it's like, what am I going to do here? But it all worked out. And so since that time, I've taught countless courses on how to make these boxes using my techniques and approaches. To back up a little bit, before that time, I got into this. Should I hand these around? Does anybody want to see these? Or just, let's see. You can pass those around. I'll start some over here too, Michael. There you go, Adam. Here's one too. I got into pattern work early in my a career as a furniture maker, woodworker. And it happened all, I was setting up for a show. And about halfway through the show, I'm like working like a maniac. And I just started doing these kind of textures and patterns. And so I had this show that was kind of, one part of the show had no carving on, and the other had all kinds of carving on, and the show didn't fit together at all. But that was the beginning of all this texture work. So what I'd like to show you today, if you want me to, is how I make one of these boxes. And there's different kinds. There's what I call a single cut box, and I think that's what we'll do today. And if there's time, we'll maybe do a little bit of surface carving on it, but I think we're going to be pretty busy just doing this. So, what kind of wood should you use? You can make these out of any type of wood, and I probably have. If I'm teaching a class, I typically make them out of basswood. It is just, it's kind of like working in ice cream. So it's, you just kind of scoop it out, and it's just fun. So let's cut off a piece of this. Let's give ourselves a little bit of extra room here. And probably one of the hardest parts for my students, let's make a bigger one, is that I don't allow any rulers in the class. And people that are, a lot of times I get people that have probably as much experience as I have, and I tell them that, you can't have a square or anything like that in the class. They're like freaking out. But that's what's the nice thing about that. It's a different type of precision, but it gives you the freedom to draw like you were when you were a kid. I just taught a class back in February, had a guy that was an engineer, my favorite type of student. I'm a recovering engineer. And he was like, "What do you mean I can't use that? I use a straight edge." I said, "No, just do it." And this guy started drawing these curves, and he was so talented. He says, "I can't do this." I said, don't, I know you can do it. Don't you worry about that part. And he ended up producing some pretty interesting things. So let's cut this off. I should have done that beforehand. As far as the blade, this is called Learn the Bandsaw. Yeah. I think at this point I probably used every kind of bandsaw you can imagine. And we were just talking about gruesome accidents on machines. And so I immediately took my name tag off. It was not exactly in front of an audience would I want that problem. It would look good, but yeah, he was on the bandsaw, and then he was just, something happened. So, and let's put our glasses on. I don't think I have my glasses here. Oh boy. Yeah. One of my colleagues was just boasting on Facebook a while back, "I don't ever wear safety glasses." That's just, not to get into more gruesome stories, but sometimes those teeth come off of the saw blade. Those, what are they called? The carbide teeth. Yeah. You want to wear safety glasses. Okay. Thank you. Oh, these look just like mine. Oh, they are. Okay. So let's just saw this off and then we'll get to work. Boy, is that set up nicely. Wow. Okay. So we're going to make a box. Let's make something that looks sort of like this. We can hand this around so if anybody wants to see it. Um, and I call this a one-cut box, and I'll get into why I call it that. The first thing we want to do, it's always funny when I teach this box, especially if the people have done a lot of woodworking. I say this is very simple, but you have to pay attention because since it's so simple, it's very easy to make mistakes. And then they go immediately to drawing out what the box is going to look like on the top. And I just said, well, you're going to cut that off. And so you're going to have to redraw it. He says, well, I can't redraw it because this is so special. Okay. Wonder if we should do, God, this is so hard always to decide. Yeah, let's cut it off this way. So I'm going to cut the top off, and we're going to just do a straight top on it. I like to, is this on camera? Oh, God. I like to always do a double line like that. Everybody has their techniques, but I think it's much easier to saw if I'm trying to get a straight line. Why don't you use a fence? Because we don't use fences in this class. Everything is by eye. But if I draw a, what do you call it? A single line, then I'm going to, like when you're on the car, you're kind of weaving back. But if you have two lines, like you're in a lane. So it's much easier to saw. So here we go. This is amazing. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's either a 4 or a 6. I like 4s on the rip because they rip faster, but the 6 gives you a finer cut. That was amazing technique, by the way. The blade's getting a little bit dull, so I was getting a little bit of waver, but you're not going to worry about that. Everything has to be labeled, so we're going to just put that on there so that we know how to put this back together. I'm going to draw a quick center line here. So there's the center. It's exactly in the center. And now I'm going to draw out my box. Let's see, what were we going to do? We're going to do one of these little pointy kind of P-shaped boxes. And this is the part that, is it better if I look this way or this way? Okay. Wow, that's intimidating. I'm going to look at the camera. Whoa. Okay. I spend all my days solo. I actually talk to the trees where I'm at, but I can get used to this. Okay, let's draw some nice curves on here. I think I'll look at the wood. That's what I'll do here. And you have to remember, what kind of curves your bandsaw can take. Oops, Michael, you're making the mistake that you always tell the students not to do. Okay. I'm not using the right kind of pencil here, so I'm usually using a Blackwing, but I don't have my Blackwing with me. Okay, so there's one side of the box. Now I'm going to draw in the other side of the box. And again, you know, we could get really crazy here and get French curves in here and make this so it's really not fun. Remember, this is to get away from real woodworking. And, but I like to draw it all in by hand. So like if you look at this box, it's all drawn in by hand, but it looks symmetric enough, just like our faces, you know, each side of our face is different, but it goes together really well. I don't know if you've ever done that trick where you fold open a picture with the same, and it looks weird. That's the same with these. If I made it exactly the same, the box would look weird. So we make it so that it's not exactly the same. Not intentionally, it just happens. That is probably the best question that'll be asked here today. And I always say this over and over and over. You're drawing the inside of the box. And that's the most difficult part of it, because we always, when we build things, we build in our mind from the outside in. Like we don't, you know, like if we're building a chest of drawers, we're not inside the drawer looking out. We're outside the piece looking at it, imagining what the inside would look like. With this, we're doing just the opposite. We're inside the box looking out. So if I make, and I almost did that, if I make this any thinner, there's not going to be any edge or any thickness to my box. So I've got to make sure that I leave enough wall space there. That's super important. I think I always get these other ideas. And you want pretty good lines, so I can follow those lines. I might tuck in a little bit here and not follow it. The other thing that I always do is I put arrows on here. So my cut, this is going to be cut number 1. And so I've got my arrows all going in the right direction. I still do this, especially if I'm in front of a group, because it's so easy to make the mistake. Then number 2 here, and we're going to draw this all backwards. Number 2 starts, that cut starts right here. If it starts here, you're making a new box. And so we follow all those arrows like this. And I'll tell you why this is a 1-cut box, which differentiates it from the 2-cut box, and a 1.5-cut box. This cut is going to end right here, right there. It's not going to end out there because you won't have anything to glue together. So let's cut it. And with my box, what differentiates them from other boxes is I like to cut the inside on an angle. So it'll probably take me 10 minutes to figure out how to set the angle here. There we go. And tip it a little bit further there. Okay, that's 3.5 degrees, maybe 3.6 degrees. 3.6 is my preference. So, and I'll show you in a second here why we pick that. Pick to angle it. And why the arrows are, I'll talk about why the arrows are important right now. We have 3 choices on the interior of this box. And remember, we're making the inside of the box first. We can make it like this, which is preferable. We can make it like this, which is less preferable, or we can make it like this, which is really not a good idea at all. So let's try to do it the right way. So I'm going to follow the arrows. And with bandsaw technique, when you're cutting curves, it's best to have, I don't like to stand here like this with my feet right, even, because then I've got to, stretch way over here, and that affects the kind of gentle, fair curves. So if I've got my feet like this, I can just kind of sail through all those curves and get really nice cuts, even with a blade that isn't as sharp as it should be. It's not bad. So here we go. Especially coming in, I want to come in with really, really, a lot of confidence. I don't want to hesitate in there where I'm stopping and pulling back and maybe even pulling the blade off the wheels. You don't want to do that. You want to be fully committed. Just get out there and go. I'm always moving forwards and turning at the same time, so I don't get any straight cuts. Now we're coming out through the joint. Okay. You always want to be kind to the machine. If it's making like hyena sounds, that means you're pushing the wood too quickly through the blade, and then the blade's going to start doing all kinds of deflection. It's telling you to slow down. So now I'm starting my cut inside, so I've got a joint, something to glue to there. Here we go. Bandsaw's the nicest machine of any machine in the shop, because if you get off the line or you're freaking out, you can just let go and stop, and there's no danger at all. I'm going to cut a little bit inside my line there, give myself a little bit more wall. Okay. I know a lot of you are experts out there, but I'm going to say it anyway. I never take my eyes off my hands when I'm at a machine. My eyes and hands are connected, because if I've got a lot of people here watching me and distracting me. If I just reach over here and pick this up, I could put my hand right into the saw blade. So hands and eyes are always connected. Anissa, can you get me some crazy glue or some cyanoacrylate and then also maybe some clamps, probably 4 clamps, like open up that much. Thank you. Okay. So this is kind of an interesting step here. Usually I clamp this together, but we're going to do a little bit something different here. I'm very big on kind of not doing a lot of work. If I can get a design feature without doing anything, that's a great idea for me. It's enough work anyway. So what I really like about this box, and they both work, but as you can see, this box seems a little bit more glued to the table. You know, it just comes straight down and then meets the table. What's pretty about this box, and this hasn't been painted or it doesn't have a knob on top, it has that little shadow line at the bottom. Now that's no extra work. It's just easy to put in there, but it gives the whole piece a nice, it lifts it up and doesn't make it look like it's glued to the table. And I'm going to show you, I think we're going to go for that feature if we all agree on it. Yeah, because we can do different things. The reason, and there's always 100 different ideas, what's neat about this box is I tucked the bottom up into the box. And because I was going to make more than maybe $5 an hour on this box, thank you. Okay. I decided to carve the bottom of the box so it's kind of like the back of a, like a musical instrument, like a balalaika or something like that. So it's curved like this and this. So if you have too much time on your hands, you can do that too. But I think with this, if we're all in agreement, we're gonna let this box make it like this. Does everybody want to do that? Okay. Okay. Michael? Okay. Excellent. And so there we can see how much that comes out the bottom, and I'm holding this tight. Can we see that? Okay. See that part sticking out the bottom? And that's because I've taken out essentially one kerf out. I've lost one kerf because all of a sudden I put this box back together, but there's still one there. Now, not to make it too complicated, the more angle I put on this box, like if I made it, like 8 degrees or something, the bottom would get smaller and smaller, but it wouldn't drop through this much. If I put it at 1.5 degrees, the box would drop through it exactly, I think, probably 49/64. So, yeah. So we're going to hold this. I'm going to take this pencil, and it's pretty sharp. It's not as sharp as I usually like. I'm holding this tight. This is a demo. If I was doing this at the shop, I would clamp this puppy. And I'm going to draw all the way around that old drafting trick. I never just pull the pencil along this. I roll it so it's continually sharpening the tip of the pencil. There we go. We used to have a saying in the drafting room, which applies to woodworking too. Never draw more in the morning than you can erase in the afternoon. That really applies to woodworking. Okay. So we have our bottom there. It's going to stick out. I think it's sticking out too much. It's not very elegant. So I'm going to cut some of that off. I'm only going to want it to raise up about 1/8 of an inch. Then we have to actually cut it away from this, what I call the plug, and we can come straight across for that bottom, or we can curve it. He curved it in here. Wow. Do we want it curved or straight across? Impossible. Yeah. Sometimes I get myself in trouble with that. Okay, so there's our cut. And we need this thing, this what I call the inner top here. That's what indexes the box, and it should have that kind of play in it, about that much. They all have that little part there. After you've made the box, you can tell people, God, it's like, how did you do that? You know, it's like, well, a lot of router setups, but I did it, rabbiting bit, it's not easy. So we're going to make the top. And what we should do, this is where you make these mistakes. I'm going to put this whole thing back together. I have it labeled here like this. I'm going to flip this over, put a little X here and a little X here. So then I know how it all gets together, because it's so easy to get things turned around. And I think I'll do that here too. Hopefully I should have probably used a Y, but I'll probably be okay. Okay. So we're going to do that, what I call the inner lid. We're going to cut that away from the block. We're not going to use rabbiting bits. This is not real woodworking. So I draw that on there. I think I'm going to do a double line there because it's kind of nice to. And all this stuff seems important. Like I say, this isn't real woodworking and you don't have to do the same precision. But like when you open up this box and you see this thickness here, and this actually changes, it gets a little bit narrower up here, but it's not this big, chunky, unattractive thing. And the sides are, it has that more kind of appeal like a shaker box and stuff. It's super thin, but it's really, really strong. Doesn't have to be 3/4 inch thick. So you can make it 3/4, but then you have to be clever about it. Make like boxes, like a strong box with like really thick 1.5 inch sides. And then in the middle of it goes like a bicycle pump, or like a pump for basketballs or whatever, that little pin that, you drop that in. Nobody knows where it is. Okay. So we've got to get this off of here. That's going to be really tricky. How am I going to saw that? Let's see. Oh, good. I always forget. Make this jig. So it saves a lot of time. So all the secrets. So, okay. It's supposed to be a serious demo. Whoops. Try that again. And one thing, teaching this course and stuff, everybody's sitting, doing different angles, and some person will do like a 1/2 degree. And then the next person comes up, I always say, check the bandsaw. And then they end up with a modification to their piece. So this is now set, and if we've got like a really squirrely piece, this is, really safe here in this jig I made. It's easy to just cut this sucker off, but you could still make mistakes here. I could, and this is why I say this box is so simple. I could end up doing this cut first, the inside, but I'm going to put a 3 on that, or a 2. No, I'm going to put a 3 on that. This is going to be my first cut here along the bottom so it doesn't stick out so much. And then this is going to be my second cut. It's like, how many boxes does this guy makes? And he still does this. I still do it. It's somebody once asked me, it was a collector of mine, and he was like, how do you always get it so right? And I said, because I've made more mistakes than anybody I know. It helps. Here we go. Nice steady hand. Boy, nice bandsaw. You don't want to saw into your box. You have to be careful here. Okay, it actually is just 2 cuts. Okay, now we're going to take the inner lid off. We just flip this around and just a really nice straight cut across there. And all this stuff is good with your other furniture making because you're training your eye to work with your hands. So if I could use a fence for this, but this is what furniture making's all about, or woodworking's all about, is eye-hand coordination. Okay. Oh God, we got those clamps. Wow. Okay. So next step, do not throw anything away. Every part is used. So let's just, for kicks, let's put this together. How are we doing on time? I don't want to run out of time here. Boy, the time goes. We got to fly here. So there's our box. You could be happy with this too. We glue this up. We put the top back on like this. And we put it right back into the lumber storage area by the radial arm saw. Nobody knows what we keep in there. So anyways, God, look at these. Wow. I'm always trying to buy these in this town, I think, or in this state. And I think Bob gets to these sales before anybody. I've been looking for a long time. These are just beauties. See if he'll. Yeah, they need to be waxed maybe, but I'm sure he's got a. Yeah, but boy, I bet you they work beautifully. Should have brought some Irwins over and replaced them. Yeah, boy, they are. Okay. So this is just a dry clamp, and I'm big on dry clamping things. Just to give you an idea what the glue up is going to be like, and see if there's any red herrings to watch out for. As I always like to say about the dry clamp and the actual glue up, they're kind of like distant cousins, somewhat related, but there's always surprises. So what I want to see here, we're going to do 2 things. Thank you. And one thing a lot of people do, I know a lot of you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. All different levels here. A lot of times people will just use, what are you using all those clamps on this little board? Why not just do in the middle like this? And the reason for that is when you put the glue on, it's going to squeeze all the glue out of the middle, and it's going to start to migrate towards the outside. but it's also going to do this, and you'll get these like nasty little glue lines up here and at the bottom. So you always want to take away all the opportunity from wood, because it's always up to some kind of mischief. So I can share my number one rule with you about woodworking. Shall I? Number one rule, never take shit from wood. Okay. Now, the reason we tapered this is you get this beautiful, incredible joint there. I don't know if we can see. Can we see it on the camera? I'd love to hand this around. It's like I could pour water in this and no water would come out, drip down. People will ask you about this. It's all about the jigs. So one thing I want to do before we do our glue up is I want to put the top on. And I can't tell you how many times this happens when people don't put the line on, but I've got my line on there, my little triangle, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to turn this upside down. And like I said, this is one kerf narrower than the top now. I'm going to line everything up. So there's some fussiness to this. You want to split that kerf between the two. It feels about right. And then I'm going to take that pencil, which is, I wish I had another pencil. Yeah, we're going to use this one. Let's see. This will be fine. I think, yeah, I'm good. Wait a second. What's going on? Oh. I lost my train of thought here. That's going to be a bear getting down in there. Okay, it's all lined up again. I'm going to draw where that inner top needs to go. And it's very easy to do this now. Once the bottom is in and you try to do this, not that easy. So rolling that pencil around the edge again. Are you getting all this? Can you see down inside with that camera? Yeah, the drone. Super important. And draw a line all the way around. And once I've got that line, yeah. I have special ones made for me. Okay. There we go. Okay, and I think I've got it all there. Let's put this aside. Like I said, don't throw anything away. I wish I could speed up like the videos. Okay, so I've got that X there. I've got that X here. Now I know exactly where that inner top goes. Goes right there. Okay, this is another opportunity. I can't tell you how many times I say this, and this is why I say do not throw anything away. This is your call. I made this special for this part of the project. But I'll see always people will glue this on like here, and then you see all these glue lines and it's gappy and it's just not a pretty situation. So there's your call. And if I want to get really crazy with it, which I do, I put this on top of it so it's straight. And now we're going to glue that on. I think we're going to glue it on. I don't think I have enough. I'm going to glue it on anyway. I need another clamp here, but we can't get it. Can we? Okay. Oh, perfect. Perfect. We got it. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Adam. Okay. Maybe I'll do it over here so we can see it. This is where we get to see Michael sweat sometimes. I actually stopped doing this in demos. Do not use CA glue. It's we're going to use it anyway. We don't want any of this squeezing out, so we're going to be nice, you know, a good enough amount behind our line there. We're only going to put it on there. I mean, even if this, we don't get, this is not like the joint holding the box down, so we don't need to be going crazy about. I've got my X there. I can't tell you how many times people do it like this or turn it around. We're going to put that on there like that. We're going to try not to get this stuff on us, which usually happens. Try to really line it up. And then we're going to put our call on top there. This is all very important. Do not skip this step. And then this is the most important. The piece must never know that you're clamping it. It's top secret. So you put the clamp on lightly. The lid has no idea what's going on at this point. And then slowly tighten it. And then it's too late. Sorry. Okay. And so we're going to let that, it's like the cooking show. So now we're going to make this part that's in the oven. And we're going to glue this up. And see, this is what's neat and stuff. We're making a box in 40 minutes. This is how you get fooled. Oh, I'll just go out to the wood shop, hour before dinner and make a box. So I've been fooled like that my whole life with woodworking. Oh, I can build that in a day or so. Okay. 10 minutes into the project, you realize you picked the wrong board. Okay, so I put lines on here. I want to make sure I don't get any glue on the inside. There's nothing worse than looking at somebody's beautiful work and then tight bond 3. Okay, and we want to get all the dust off of there. I've never used the CA. It's just too nerve wracking. I mean, I'm not to pat myself on the back, but I'm making this look easy, and this box is pretty easy. But a lot of the times and stuff, you can have, depending on how the box is cut, you can have pieces moving in every direction, out, in, and up all at once, and you'll never recover from that glue up if you use CA. You'll be ruined for life. It's all you'll be talking about. Yeah. Yeah. I've just had it at situations where just trying to tell the students, oh, this is so easy. Okay. And then just let it bite down for a second, and then we're going to clamp it. Oh boy, this is good stuff. And then we're going to clamp it. And even with this, we want to get our clamps right over the joint. We don't want them here so that they sandwich, they splay out. And this one isn't bad. That's what I was saying. What's he talking about? I'll use CA. It's not a big deal. But had I made that angle more, then these pieces are going to want to slide because there's these forces, going in the other direction. It's not like you put a force here and then you've got this other force going up that way. Vector, as they call it, I think. The other thing I want to watch out is that these remain because they're trying to shift, and this one's already shifted a little bit. I want to make sure things don't shift. Little shift is fine. You've had those situations, right? It doesn't look that bad. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to just let that sit for a second. Oh, we have the bottom. Where's the bottom? Oh, it's here. Okay, well, that's dry. See, this is where the confusion goes in. I am using CA, but just for this demo. Yeah. Do not use it. Yeah. Plus, there's nothing worse than, you've got your family over and extended family. Oh, look what Michael built. Let me show you this. He just finished these boxes and they pick it up and it falls apart. Nothing worse than that. It's embarrassing. So we can throw the bottom in here too. I don't want to glue it in yet because if I've got this, I've got plenty of purchase of it on the bandsaw. And what we're going to do right now, we could just leave it like this, like I said, put that top on like this, and then put it back in the lumber rack like that. Nobody knows. But let's make something a little more interesting. So I don't need to follow this profile, but I always do. It's a pretty box. It's got nice angles on it. And this is these are pretty thick edges for me, but this is where you don't want to get nervous. The best type of woodworking, whether we like it or not, is learn from our mistakes. And you can't expect to make a box like that your first time. Sometimes I have students that do, but give yourself the opportunity and the permission to make mistakes. It's okay. These burn well. So. And always leave yourself plenty of distance at the end. See, I've left about an inch here. That's really nice. Here I've left maybe, I don't know, 13/16, somewhere around there. That's getting a little bit short. So those cuts are in. I have choices here. How are we doing on time? We're good? Okay. I can splay the box out. All these are splayed in. I don't have that much room, but I could splay this box out, which is super cool. People will talk about it. Or I can have it go in. What would you like? Okay. Excellent question. You ask all the good questions. If you don't you have to be careful if you choose too much of an angle when you're cutting it in? The best way to be safe is to choose the same angle as you did before. Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I did my homework. I made the jig. I can put this right up there against the blade. I've got the perfect angle. I'm ahead of you on that. Always make this. So, anyways, if you choose an angle that's steeper than this, you just modify the box so it has portholes. It has these little parabola type portholes in it. It's a look. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hopefully I won't make a mistake here. So I'm going in the opposite direction to splay it out a little bit. We could go straight down too, but that's kind of boring. So I draw my 1 and 2 on there. Box will probably fall in part when I'm cutting it, but let's see what happens. Hour. Yeah. I think we're good. It depends on what's going on in how cold the workshop is, all that kind of stuff. But so here's the amount that I can splay the box right there. That's my limiting angle right there. Bring over my ruler. There you go. So that's the angle. That's the most I can go, but that's enough. If I go more than that, then when I get out to these areas, I'll get these parabolas here. That's a look too. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm trying taking it to the maximum. We'll see what happens. I always do a test. This is the easiest way to not make a mistake. So let's do the test. Out here, we can see that that's splaying. Let's draw a pencil line in there. That's splaying out like that. Is that hard to, it might be a little hard to see. It's kind of shallow. Okay, here we go. No, do not throw it away. Okay. So there's this is a big boy. So there's our box. And because we splayed it out, thank you. See how thick it is at the bottom, which is kind of cool. Let's drop that bottom in there if we can find it. Yeah, it's happened. The next step, as you can see, these ends are, pretty awful. They need to be all shaped. Your work is just beginning now. Now you're at the bench, so that has to all be shaped into something attractive. I'll put the top on here like this, famous last words. So the top goes on here, and then I draw this top all the way around like that. And now I can cut that part out too. And I can either have it slope in or I can have it slope out. So there's all kinds of choices. You can end up getting caught like I did. It's like I would make one of these. And now here we are years later. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.